Hello, and thanks for joining us. This is Millward Brown's webinar on Adreaction, Video Creative in a Digital World Study. My name is Sarah Beatty. I'm Marketing Director, and with me on the line today is Sharon Flynn, our Director of Digital at Millward Brown in Toronto. Today we're going to take you through our most recent Adreaction thought leadership, which was just released in mid-October and has already been getting a lot of great interest in the market and among our clients. So we're really excited that you could join us today to go through this. In terms of agenda, I'll provide a little context and background on our Adreaction research. I'm then going to turn it over to Sharon, who's going to take us through the regional Canadian findings. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions. You can go ahead and submit your questions at any time in the presentation through the questions box on the right-hand side of the GoToMeeting interface, and we'll address your questions at the end. So first up, just a little bit of context around Adreaction before we dive into the Canadian findings. Our proprietary Adreaction studies have been conducted since 2001, delivering insights on consumers' perceptions of advertising, particularly digital formats. In the past, we've focused on receptivity towards mobile advertising, social media, and many of you may have actually joined us for last year's Adreaction webinar as we explored multi-screening behaviors. So building off of the multi-screen topic, we designed this year's Adreaction video study around how audiences are consuming video across devices and ultimately what the role of video content in advertising is. So with this research, we're looking at key questions facing marketers, including how are videos viewed by screen and for how long, what people think of video ads across screens, and then how marketers can create ads that consumers won't skip. Really, how do you create that ad that's going to keep your consumer engaged throughout the entire creative? So to get to this research, we surveyed via smartphone or tablet more than 13,500 16 to 45-year-old multi-screen users across 42 countries. We define multi-screen users as people who own or have access to a TV and a smartphone and or a tablet. We also conducted parallel copy testing for 20 ads in 8 of those countries across TV, online video, and mobile video ad formats. And with the creative copy testing, we interviewed more than 10,000 consumers. So looking at the map here, you'll see the 42 countries that we surveyed in the light green. And then in the dark green, that dark green color indicates those countries which we also conducted the parallel copy testing. While we did not conduct copy testing specifically in Canada, the insights that we gathered from over 10,000 multi-screeners across the globe are relevant and worth sharing. And so Sharon's going to take us through some of the examples of best-in-class online video towards the end of the presentation. Also, by conducting this research across the globe, we're able to get a rich understanding of the differences in video consumption across regions and tease out some learnings which are not only interesting for all of us, but extremely valuable for global clients. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sharon, who's going to take us through the findings for the Canadian market specifically. Sharon?
Thank you, Sarah. So welcome to Video Trends and Adreaction Video in Canada. Thinking about video trends and the Canadian context, I think it's important to look at some of the trends we've seen with multi-screen Canadians. We know that 27% of English Canadian and 13% of French Canadian internet users have access to up to 4 screens, and that's up from just 3% 4 years ago, so a strong growing trend. We know that 16% of Canadians now live without a paid TV service. Forrester, just last month in October, has urged CMOs to begin to trial innovative approaches with cord cutters and cord nevers today, so to future-proof their strategies for tomorrow. Our own IAB Canada listed native video ads and mobile video as 2 of the top 4 biggest video opportunities for media companies or advertisers in Canada over the rest of this year and into 2016. Hence, understanding video consumption by these multi-screen Canadians is timely, as it gives us a window into the next few years. The multi-screener today is going to provide us with insights into the wider video consumption of tomorrow. So firstly, let's take a broad look at share of media minutes amongst our multi-screeners versus media spend, and we see that the two are misaligned. Taking an overview of how multi-screeners spend their time by device, that's charted on the left, we see about a third of time is spent with TV in green at the bottom, about a fifth with desktop in blue, and just under half with mobile in yellow. Yet on the right, looking at the proportion of ad dollar spend across these three devices, TV accounts for about 50% of the spend, which makes sense as a legacy platform, but mobile, which is accounting for almost half of time spent with our multi-screeners, is receiving a fraction of the media spend. Of course, we're not suggesting that a simple redistribution to reflect time spent is the solution. But just recently, Facebook reported record growth and attributed a great amount of that to mobile. So clearly there is a need to better understand this, albeit simplistic, divergence. So throughout this presentation, we'll be looking at multi-screeners' different mindsets, engagement levels, and expectations across platforms, so to place this ad spend versus time spent quandary into some context. So let's put the person back in the picture. How much video are multi-screeners viewing by screen? So first we're going to look at their overall time spent with the 4 screens we examined, and then we're going to look specifically into video. So firstly, how much time overall are multi-screeners spending with live TV, there on the top, on-demand TV, laptops, tablets, and mobiles? So by live TV here we mean traditional TV as per the broadcaster's schedule. It's essentially what is on whenever you turn on the TV. It does also include choices through the program guide, so there's some minimal time shifting, but it's really content as curated by the television station. On demand, which is in dark blue there, in Canada covers all content watched on a time chosen by our multi-screener. This includes PVR playback, over-the-top content such as Netflix or Apple TV, and internet content like YouTube. The key here is that they're choosing to watch it on their television set. So to give you some orientation here, I have 2 bar charts, both adding to 100%, representing total time spent with the 4 screens. So in the case of mobile phone, tablet, and laptop, we have obviously other activity in addition to video. I've also included the minutes associated with the platform as well as the percentages. The French market is on the left and the English market is on the right, and this will repeat throughout the webinar. So, Canadian multi-screeners are spending typically 6 hours a day with their TV, tablet, smartphone, and computer. Mobile at the bottom there in dark red draws the most time spent at 2 hours. Obviously, this is cumulative and dispersed throughout the day. Time spent with tablets in the orange is fairly consistent across the 2 markets at just under an hour. And English multi-screeners are spending slightly more time with laptops in the yellow. When it comes to that largest screen available, the TV set, French and English multi-screeners do have different approaches. French multi-screeners report spending just 40 minutes with on-demand content on their TV, compared to 1.3 hours for English multi-screeners. French multi-screeners are spending more time with live television. Now let's focus specifically on video. Again, just orientating you here, we have the 2 bar charts, both adding to 100%, with French market on the left, English market on the right. This bar chart is looking only at total video. That's total video screen minutes, live TV, on-demand TV, laptop, tablet, and smartphone. French Canadians are reporting viewing about 3.3 hours of video daily across these devices, and English Canadians are watching about 30 minutes more. But what's striking here is multi-screen Canadians are in control of their video content, and hence their advertising consumption. English Canadians watch over 3/4, 77% of their video content on demand or online. And French Canadians are not that far behind. 65% of their video consumption is under control. So if we look first at the digital devices there at the bottom, we see video viewing on smartphones in red and tablet in orange are similar between the two markets, and laptops have a slight lead with video viewing for English Canadians. What is really striking again is that English multi-screeners spending those 1.3 hours with on-demand content. Again, that's PVR, over-the-top, Netflix, that kind of content. In fact, we found that English multi-screeners spend proportionally more of their video screen time with on-demand TV than any other of the 41 countries surveyed. So I want to show you that top 20 list of other countries. So given Canadian multi-screeners' global leadership in on-demand viewing, it's worth placing it in a context. And here we see that top 20 on-demand viewing countries. That is, countries here are ranked by the proportion of video that they were watching on demand. Global is across the top there. So globally, typically our multi-screeners are watching about 80% of their video on demand, and English Canadian multi-screeners are watching 34% of their video on demand, same as Sweden, and ahead of the US and the UK. Now I want to be clear here, English multi-screeners are not rejecting live television. While 77% of their video viewing is under their control, both Vietnam and China are watching more video on demand or with devices. 86% of Vietnamese and 82% of Chinese video are watched in an environment in which the multi-screener is in control, i.e. absent live television. It's the TV as a viewing platform that's driving English Canadians' multi-screener top ranking. In fact, just 44% of their viewing to video is on a digital device compared to Vietnam, the world leader, at 66%. Just out of interest, in case any of you are thinking of it, live television share is highest with Japan at 50% and France at 49% of their viewing is to live television. Now this on-demand viewership, we wanted to interrogate it a little and break it out amongst the demographics that were available. So each bar chart here, broken out by male, female, and then by age, is using minutes. We're not using percentages. I wanted to give you the actual minutes. So as we stated, 77% or 2.8 hours of video content watched by English multi-screeners is under their control. Multi-screener women and those aged 16 to 24 are viewing more video on demand and more video than average. It is notable, in fact, that younger English multi-screeners are watching more video overall, 3.8 hours, compared with older multi-screeners. So younger multi-screeners, we're not rejecting video as a genre, as a content choice. They're just changing the manner in which they pull it towards them. Women are watching slightly less video overall, but more on demand than average. From Numerous, that's formerly BBM data, we know that about 20% and more viewing to drama and scripted comedy are watched via PVR. And this programming skews females, by no means dominated by female viewers, but it does skew female. We also know that from Numerous that about 99% of sport and news are watched live, and those types of shows typically skew male. So this helped us feel confident that yes, female multi-screeners are more likely to be drawing on-demand content towards them compared to male multi-screeners. We also took this opportunity to ask multi-screeners how they were watching TV and how they were watching video, and how that content had changed through an open-ended question. And we saw in Canada and around the world that flexibility and control are recurring themes as they reflect on their changing video consumption. Across the top 4 boxes, we see typical comments speaking to time shifting via PVR, binge viewing, nostalgia viewing on YouTube, etc. However, I do want to draw your attention to the bottom 2 boxes on the right, which are also reflective of multi-screeners' broad definition of video content, and we saw this amongst French and English multi-screeners. That is, they define video beyond TV. Multi-screeners include high-quality user-generated content or subject matter expert content around gaming, cosmetics and grooming, or hobbies, for example, as part of the video offering which they select. Multi-screeners are very comfortable going beyond traditional scripted television for the content they want to watch. So I want to turn now to ad receptivity, video ad receptivity, specifically amongst our multi-screeners. And we're going to see that control is a theme there again. So again, just to orientate you here, we have French on the left and English on the right. And these pie charts represent the percentage of respondents who said that they were somewhat or very favorable towards video adverts on live TV, on demand, computer, tablet, and smartphone. So we see that favorability for video on TV is at 30 and 27% respectively, and drops considerably for French and a little less for English for on-demand. We see that online digital video has much lower rates of favorability, with particularly smartphones for English multi-screeners scoring the lowest. Now, when we build onto this, the level of control that multi-screeners have over their ads, we see that multi-screeners have far higher sense of control over video advertising on digital devices, which does make sense, well over half, 61% for laptops for English. The multi-screeners embrace control in their overall viewing choices and feel they have control over video advertising on digital devices is something we as marketers should embrace and see as an opportunity. The value of control for multi-screeners is an opportunity for us when we meet the skip challenge head-on. By recognizing multi-screeners' control value and working with it. So we're going to show you some examples of that, more on that momentarily. But while we were speaking to multi-screeners, we wanted to see, given their shifting tastes, was there any habits that were changing significantly? And to be frank, the results weren't typically startling. They were mostly intuitive and common sense. Digital devices for this group, that is laptops, tablets, and smartphones, remain a solo activity, with 67% watching alone. And TV remains a social activity. We did some additional analysis that suggests that social viewing can increase advertising receptivity. So while advertisers need to respect the private space, the private mindset that online video creates, targeting social digital viewing moments, while we admit a challenge, is definitely worthwhile. We also wanted to explore how our multi-screeners were finding their content. And again, none of the results that came back were particularly startling, but here are some highlights. French Canadians watch What's Happening Live far more than the global average, 10 points higher. English Canadians are surfers. They like to explore randomly, 17 points higher than French multi-screeners. English Canadians are also binge viewing. And this reported way in which both French and English multi-screeners are finding their content speaks to the time spent that they also reported. So it gives us some confidence there as well. So, having examined how much video multi-screeners are viewing, on what device, and with whom, we turn to the question of multi-screeners' mindset and how it differs across these platforms when they reach for a device and choose their video. So first we're going to look at English multi-screeners, video usage by approach, and we've placed the devices and mindsets in a correspondence analysis. So let me get you orientated here as well. The important thing to remember here is it's the position on the points that count, not necessarily the access. The state of mind is denoted by the blue diamonds. So bored at the top, goals-orientated here to the right, relaxed but seeking gratification at the bottom, and relaxed but seeking stimulation there towards the left. For me, smartphones on the top left are very interesting because we know as a whole, smartphones are a goal-orientated device. We've seen this in previous Adreaction studies. But critically, for multi-screeners watching video, a smartphone, when they're choosing it, they're more likely to be bored. It is the tablet that the multi-screener goes to for video when in a goal-orientated mindset, which is consistent with what we know as tablets as a modern-day version of the portable television. As advertisers, we've got to be responsive to the variety of mindsets that smartphones in particular users approach when they're approaching video. So when we're thinking about smartphones, we have to think about, is it video content that we're going to be connecting our message to, or a different type of content, because goal-orientated or bored will be a different mindset for them. We see that watching video content on a laptop or PC is associated with a relaxed state of mind, so a non-specific sort of surfing or maybe a vegging out mindset, while TV, both live and on demand for English multi-screeners, is relaxed but engaged and seeking stimulation. That's sort of destination viewing, watching your favorite TV show or event, which reflects other research that shows that Canadians, especially English Canadians, tend to seek out the largest screen available to them when they're engaged in their content choice. Now, when we turn to French Canada, we do see some differences. Again, we have in the blue diamonds our different states of mind. But for French multi-screeners, the go-to video content when bored is live television, not the smartphone as seen with the English multi-screener. For French multi-screeners, the laptop is the device of choice when in a goal-orientated frame of mind rather than the tablet. And it's tablets, not laptops, that are the device of choice when relaxed but simply seeking gratification. And on-demand TV, not live TV, are associated with the relaxed yet engaged viewing. Okay, so that was a lot of information to digest. So we'll take a pause here to just summarize the person before we explore the content. Looking at the 5 viewing options across the top and the where, with who, and how they're feeling along the side, we see that for television screens, it's an at-home experience and it's social. For computers, tablets, and smartphones, we have some outdoor activity, but for tablets, it's still an at-home device, and it's mostly solo. Lean back for live television and on-demand, relaxed. Computers, goal-orientated in French, more of a relaxed state of mind for the English Canadians. And critically, for smartphones, we see a goal-orientated or relaxed or bored state of mind. So we have that sort of dichotomy of different mindsets when approaching video on a smartphone dependent on the market. So knowing that multi-screeners value control and that their mindset can vary significantly across devices and other environmental factors, naturally content targeting and behavioral targeting are a logical tactic to align message with consumer receptivity. So what are multi-screeners' attitudes towards targeting? We asked them directly in an open-ended question their thoughts on targeting. Now I want to be clear, not all of them responded, about half, but those that did were critical. While many multi-screeners had a neutral or no view, those who expressed an opinion frequently use terms like creepy, intrusive, or uncomfortable in describing their attitude towards targeting, with YouTube and Facebook most often sided. Broadly speaking, English-Canadian multi-screeners were more likely to offer a negative opinion on the subject than French-Canadian multi-screeners, but really when you step back from the verbatims and you look at the big picture, ads that multi-screeners do not find engaging and relevant are really the ones that are eliciting this reaction. More broadly, we see audiences prefer video targeting based on their interests and the type of brands they follow and not on their search or browsing history. Now this is a bit of a contradiction since browsing history may drive interest-based targeting. So again, taking a step back and listening to our multi-screeners, we have to be careful not to be too clever or invasive with our targeting approaches. Relevant is good, but spooky is too much. So now we understand what screens multi-screeners are using for video, their mindset when watching, with whom they're watching with, and where they are. We know that relevancy and control are important values for them. Now, what are the components that engage multi-screeners? How can marketers optimize video ads across all these different screens and critically avoid having viewers skip them? Well, one of the simple answers they gave us was they liked the ad itself, the content and the execution, ahead of familiarity or the brand itself. Enjoyment of the ad is key ahead of any other option. We also gave them a closed list of options as to why they didn't skip an ad, and humor, reciprocity, and relevance came up as key ingredients for successful online advertising in Canada. In fact, humor was the top reason not to skip an ad in 30 of the 42 countries studied. So only charting net, yes, we do see humor rank as #1 with Canadian multi-screeners. However, humor is not always appropriate. If we look at other top ranking reasons not to skip, which speak to relevancy. It's for a category I'm interested in. It's from a brand I'm interested in. It's engaging. So, for example, we see from amongst English Canadians, almost a third cited something intriguing happened in the first few seconds. So while humor is the easy answer, really what it boils down to is it relevant, engaging, does it speak to me? We also ask them in a verbatim, why don't you skip an ad? What made you not skip the ad? So across the top, again, we see humor, and humor is one that came up a lot. But I want to draw your attention to the bottom four, which are also reflective of the verbatim responses we got. They speak to relevance, a video ad for an app that I really like, a fire age game that I'm interested in. It speaks to the quality of the execution, a L'Oreal Paris shampoo ad because the images and colors were appealing, or a car commercial ad which talked about precision and accuracy. So finally in this section, we're going to look at two slides to look at ad types before I go on and show you some examples of best practice. So here, just to orientate you again, we're looking at market receptivity versus whether an ad was noticed, and we're looking at the English market first. Where you want to be is up here in the top right-hand corner, high noticeability, high market receptivity. So we see that skippable pre-roll and skippable mobile pop-up ads, that's when your mobile app, an ad appears, but you're able to actually stop it immediately, dismiss it immediately, are both noticed and reasonable. Skippable mobile app ad, while noticed, however, has one of the lowest market receptivity amongst English multiscreeners. Looking at French, we see for French multiscreeners, mobile app rewards, where you choose to earn points or rewards by watching a full-screen video from a brand, are very well received. Yet skippable pre-roll are more likely to be noticed. Mobile ad pop-ups, also for French multiscreeners, not liked at all. So moving to learnings from the copy testing research, I'd like to show you some examples of online adverts that performed very highly in our copy testing study. Because we all want to beware of the cliff. Many of you have looked at behavioral data, I'm sure are very familiar with this cliff, the rapid disengagement from online advertising. Even with highly engaging ads, many skip away as soon as they can. And we at Millward Brand see this pattern for YouTube skippable pre-roll and Facebook audio ads. And I know that while advertisers don't pay for the ad skipped, this is about maximizing impact. A huge amount of effort and thought and creativity go into ads. We want them to be watched, enjoyed, and engaged with. So first, focusing on skip resistance. Now I'm going to do something a little unconventional here. I will be sending out the links after the webinar so you can watch them in your own time, but I'm actually not going to give you sound. So I want you to look at the images and let's explore how fast these different ads were able to deliver their message and avoid that skip. Both the examples I'm going to show you are from my friends in Australia. And up here we have the IGA price match promise. We have a character, he's a little obscured there. He's an everyman, and he appears in all the ads. He's going to say, hey, 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 if you're going to skip anything, skip the high prices at supermarket ads. But what I love is IGA is right in there from the very beginning. So I'll just get this playing for you. So just watch the way it's like, hey, 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 if you're going to skip anything, skip the big supermarket, and then big supermarket, and we're out. 8 seconds. He's delivered his message, we've had a little fun, and IGA is right there right away. So this is in a skippable environment. This is most likely to be effective. In the Nestle ad from Australia that I'm going to show you next, if you're in a forced play environment, it works well, but we also had it score very highly in a skippable environment. Here we have a very handsome chef, inexplicably only in an apron, and there's commentary over it where, if you imagine Maggie Smith with an Australian accent, is trying to get us to enjoy what we're watching, but they're referring to the cakes. But at 17 seconds, we see the Nestle product, but they keep us engaged. I think he's a nice guy. And bring him home to mom. And I think he's nice. I'd bring him home to my mammy. There's a lot of Irish in Australia. So what I'm saying is in that one, it was intriguing. You were trying to figure out what was going on. Why is this handsome guy surrounded by cakes? But it tested very, very well, even though it was slightly longer than our IGA friends ones. Now, we have to integrate the brand in the first few seconds. I know what you're saying. The Nestle ad beforehand didn't, but I want to give you an example of how we can integrate in seconds multiple experiences of the brand. The top one we have here is from Maggie. It's a product in Germany. It helps us make fast meals for the family. These guys managed to give not one, but 2 instances of the brand in under 3 seconds. So if you think you can't do it in 3 seconds, it can be done. So 1, 2, and we're at 3 seconds. Then we see a happy, engaging, lively family. Lots of examples of how the product is used. At 9 seconds, we see the product again. Thumbs up, everyone's using it. 17 seconds, we're out. So I think that that's an example of how it really can execute in a very short space of time. The one at the bottom here is from my friends in the States. It's my favorite. I'm not allowed to have favorites, but this is actually my favorite. It's a very fun ad for a snack product or a treat product for puppies. We have our little rap character. So he's supposed to be a rap star, but he's actually just a dog. And there's a song that goes along with called All Day I've Been Begging Baby, which is quite an earworm, trust me. And we see our lovable dog as an MTV-like rap star. The brand is featured at 3 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10, 11, and 17. So I just want to, so that's like at 3 seconds, and we already see begging right there at the bottom. So we know what we're in for. Just get a little play button going here. Sorry. Yeah, there he is, coming out of the shower. The music is pumping away, rap music. So he's nodding his head to it. But we've seen the product at 7 seconds. We see it again. All day I get begging baby. We see it again and again. And they repeat this for another 1 minute and 22 seconds. And what I love about this ad is it embraces and has a narrative with the owner, with the viewer about control. At any point, I can step away from this ad and not have lost the message. I'm not punished. I don't miss out on anything by having stopped the ad, but I can continue to enjoy it if I like the song or I'm a fan of a puppy or it's particularly relevant to me. So it's aware of the platform that it's on. Now there's a click to play challenge as well, as we saw. Given a choice, most consumers don't click to play. And again, this is not about cost. It's about maximizing the impact. We've put this ad on Facebook. We really want people to enjoy it and have a positive experience. So really the rules for Facebook click to play is that the initial frame and the introductory text is very crucial. It needs to be creatively engaging, but also the ad needs to deliver on the promise that that initial frame introduced. So here's, I'm just going to give you the HB example, which is very funny. So we have classic artists, and we're hearing a beep noise, like the printer's running out noise. We have Van Gogh trying to do his sunflowers, but he's run out. The Mona Lisa, who's about to get very annoyed. She admonishes him in Italian. So it's funny, it's entertaining. Remember, a lot of Facebook is engaged with on mobile, so they're in a bored frame of mind. So this has that deliverable of a little bit of humor, but it doesn't have to be over the top. And finally, the granddaddy of them all, the unskippable ad. I'm sure if any of you have attended any conferences this year, you're probably a little tired of this one. But what we wanted to do is take a digital ad which we knew performed extraordinarily well online, and then we placed it in a television testing environment, and it did not perform as well at all. And this will become clear in a moment. So the mom says, "Don't thank me, thank the savings." And then Geico, "You can't skip this ad because it's already over." But then we have our little dog guy come in. Everyone's freeze framed. The kids struggle a little holding the frame. So somewhat similar to the begging ad, it is very much aware of the context it's in and the relationship it has with the audience. It knows the audience values control and can skip off at any moment. The audience doesn't lose anything by stopping, but they get a reward by continuing to watch. Geico is obviously front and center the entire time, and everybody watches to the end. People just want to keep seeing what the dog's going to do. It plays on narratives of 1950s family. It's very meta. It's very, very well executed, especially when you see the facial expression. So it has a rewatchable element because the changing facial expressions, you can catch a new one every time. So that's one of the, but again, we put it on it in a television format. The audience couldn't skip it, and they did not like it. It's the fact that you can skip it that gives it value. So really, when we're thinking about our creative choices, we need to be creative, capture attention, we need to engage in those first few seconds, and we need to tailor to the length of the content and the context, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, be it forced or skippable. So really, in summing up, multi-screen Canadians are in control of their video content and their advertising consumption. They value control, embrace it. Compared to television, online video advertising has far lower favorability scores. Yes, this is because television has been around longer, but we need to do better. But skippable ads are noticed and they're broadly well received. To avoid the skip, the short answer is be funny. Yet, it's also important to consider reciprocity and relevance as key ingredients for successful online video. We have less than 3 seconds to engage online. Maximize the message in that time. And the examples we showed you, we can do it. Targeting is tricky. Canadians can see it as creepy when too overt. We have to have relevance as key. It has to be part of a strategic plan. And really, above all, one size does not fit all. The multi-screener's location, device used, their mindset, whether they're in a social or solo viewing situation, all impact ad receptivity and success. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah, who will be able to give you some more information on additional resources that we have to augment this webinar.
Thanks so much, Sharon. So all of the data that Sharon mentioned today, along with data from the other 42 countries, is available to you now at millwardbrown.com/adreaction. This is an online interactive tool that enables you to drill down into specific country results by data set, and it's neat because you can toggle back and forth across countries for a comparison. Also from that website, you can access quick links to download the global report and additional assets such as an infographic and an animated video from the aggregate global results. If you found this topic interesting and relevant, we encourage you to check out some more of the learnings about video creative that we have on millwardbrown.com/insights. There's a lot of public thought leadership that's available to you, a variety of POVs related to video, such as how do I use online video effectively in my campaign, and does humor make ads more effective, as well as other industry published reports such as the From 6 Seconds to 6 Minutes report that was presented at Cannes last year, exploring the impact of video ads, both short and long form. So there's a lot of great information on the website. And all of the published learning that we put out is based on our creative development and in-market media and digital effectiveness solutions, which help brands optimize marketing performance across their media channels. So just a few to mention here. Link Now, which is part of our full Link for Digital portfolio of creative copy testing solutions, is used to determine if online ads are strong enough to run and ultimately what is driving their performance. And the great thing about Link Now is that this research can be done in as few as 6 hours. So it's a really quick, effective way of testing your creative, pre-testing your creative before your campaign launch. And it can help you shed light into how your ads can be adapted across the various digital channels on which they will be seen. Specifically, the link for digital portfolio can test video creative for online, mobile, and Facebook advertising. And link for digital can be run in parallel to our link for TV studies to help you adapt your creative across the various screens which your consumers are viewing it. Once your digital creative has been finalized, it's important to then quantify the in-market impact of your campaigns. And we do that by looking at brand metrics such as awareness, message association, brand favorability, and purchase intent. And Brand Lift Insights is the best solution for marketers who want to understand how video creative in the context of your media buys is changing consumers' perceptions of your brand. Also in that in-market media effectiveness suite is cross-media, and this is an ideal situation or solution in cases where you're looking to evaluate the branding impact of your cross-platform campaigns. So insights from cross-media can enable you to develop more effective and efficient campaigns across media, so TV, online, print, radio, paid and earned media as well, to really help you develop more effective and efficient campaigns. So while we've only highlighted just a few of our solutions here, we would love the opportunity to come in and discuss your measurement challenges and needs around video so that we can help find a solution that might work best for you. And we're going to be following up after this presentation with an email. In that email there will be a link to the recording of this session on YouTube that you can refer back to or share with your colleagues. There's also going to be some contact information, and you can use that to request a PDF copy of the full report, as well as reach out to Sharon if you have any questions about solutions or are interested in speaking with Millward Brown about addressing some of your measurement challenges around video. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to some questions. We've gotten some good questions so far, and so I'm just going to pull those up. And then I'm going to moderate a little bit of a Q&A session with Sharon. So Sharon, the first question, let me just double check here. Okay, so the first question was, how was time spent asked, and how did you determine it?
Okay, that's a very good question. So what the respondent was asked how they spend time across these 4 platforms yesterday. So we didn't ask for a typical or an overview. We specifically asked, where did you spend your time with video yesterday? Of course, across the survey, we made sure that we had Monday all the way through to Sunday. We broke it out into 15-minute increments, and then with some modeling, we were able to break it down into smaller minutes. So it is self-reported. It does align quite nicely with both ComScore and BBM data and PMB data, so we felt fairly confident there. So it was, how many minutes did you spend yesterday with the following devices? And then that was interrogated through other questions.
Great, thanks so much. And just a little bit of a clarification on that one. Another question related to time is this total time or personal time only? Does it capture work hours?
I think in terms of, especially with mobile phone, I think it's capturing work hours. But remember, we're 16 to 45 here, so some of the younger group wouldn't be necessarily in work. And so there's probably some different elements in terms of laptop. We didn't specifically ask personal when it came to video, but I think there's some work hours captured for the mid-range, especially around laptop. But this is as in it's not a work activity, but people may be in the workplace when they're reporting on their Monday to Friday activity. I think.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much, Sharon. And then also that's a nice segue to one of the questions we got about age. So why did you only survey 16 to 45-year-olds?
Okay, well, there was 2 reasons for that. The first reason was really this was conducted over 42 countries, so we were trying to be cognizant of identifying and finding multi-screeners across 42 countries consistently, and as we get into older demographics, you may not see as many of those 4 screens available especially over 55. Specifically to Canada, the challenge is that, as people I'm sure are familiar with BBM data, over 55s and especially over 65s watch considerably more television. and we wanted it to be a focus on video amongst multi-screeners and as a future focus. And there was a concern that if we were to go all the way up to 65 and beyond, really the analysis coming back would start to skew towards a demographic study where this was a video content study. So it was twofold really, the number of countries involved and then making sure that in scope and what was focused on was this consumption of video across platform with some information around demos but not really focused on a generational divide.
Great. Thanks so much, Sharon, for clarifying that. We have a question about how does on-demand segment break out into PVR/Netflix, etc.?
We didn't get into that. We were very clear with the respondent that when they were talking about on-demand, they were allowed to, or we were bucketing for them PVR, Netflix, YouTube, and other content that was on the big screen that they had chosen to put there. But we didn't start getting into different platforms or different stations, because even if we were to break out PVR and over the top, there's also, we would then start leaving out things like HBO Go or Show Me. So what we wanted to understand was the level of control or the level of agency they had depending on screen, the size of the screen, and what they were gravitating towards in their day. So the on-demand is a bucket of on-demand content that they're watching on the television screen, but we did give them permission to say if they're watching a YouTube show on the television screen, that was on demand. I know in Canada, on-demand has a more narrow definition for a long time. We gave it the broadest definition.
Great, thanks so much, Sharon. Did we ask about types of programs or genres?
We didn't in Canada. I know if you go to the resources that Sarah mentioned, specifically the American study, there's some light descriptions around genres and different types of entertainment versus live. I think there was some sporting in there. But really we're trying to understand first in Canada what devices are they on, what are their attitudes towards video. I think when we were looking at behavioral targeting and content targeting, that was kind of leaning that direction, but we didn't get into specific types of shows. I'd like to. I think if there's an appetite for it, we can look to it, but we didn't get into typical types of shows. And there's a value to that because when we didn't place in the mind of the respondent television shows as such, they then through their verbatims and other answers came back and told us our definition of video is very broad. Our definition of video includes UGC and subject matter expert content. So I think that was worthwhile to leave it open and listen to the multi-screener rather than put us in a position of imposing our definition of video upon them.
Great. We have a question about how the likability of video ads online compares to ads on television. So kind of the idea of ad likability across online versus television. Do you want to speak to that?
In this study, television advertising live television in particular, has much higher favorability at around 30%, I believe, across the two markets. It drops pretty precipitatively in French from 30 to 40 to on-demand. So there does seem to be, and again, if they are choosing content in a controlled way, if the ad that's delivered to them is less appealing for some reason, I feel that they are going to have a much lower favorability, where with live television, we've all been raised with advertising on television ever since we were children. So we have that media literacy that this is an advert and that's what we expect to have, where with digital and on-demand, the state of mind we see tends to be a little either lean forward, or even if it's in a relaxed state of mind with on-demand, they're specifically seeking out their favorite show or seeking out, they're self-curating. So advertising has to clear a higher bar when the viewer, the multi-screener in this case, we are talking specifically multi-screeners, multi-screeners have to clear a higher bar with them when they're in that high-value control state of mind. So live television, 30% are favorability, and once we get into on-demand, it goes down to 20% for TV, all the way down to 14% for cell phones for video viewership for English multi-screeners. So digital definitely has some work to do.
Thanks, Sharon. We have a question about the creative examples that you shared. So you mentioned that the brand needed to be front and center immediately, but in the Nestle and the HP ad, they were not there straight away. What do you think it is about these creative, if not that makes it successful?
Yes, that's a tough one. So the challenge is, yes, get the brand front and center as fast as possible in the first 3 seconds and be conscious of the skip. But these are not meant to be rules as such. We don't want to stifle creativity and innovation, and respondents and viewers want to see innovation and creativity. So both of those were very engaging, they were intriguing, something interesting was happening, so it doesn't have to be high octane the whole time. So, I mean, not to be self-serving, I do encourage people to think outside the box, but test when you go outside the box. And we do have many great solutions to help you test to ensure that you're hitting that mark. So it's tough to give a checklist when it comes to video. Having the brand front and center is terrific, but also being engaging and relevant is equally important.
Great, and we have one last question. This one is about understanding the mood at time of viewing. So how were we able to understand what the mood of consumers are while viewing devices?
So we did actually, we in the survey, we did actually give them those states of mind, and we did ask them at different times of day, how did they feel when they were on these different devices. So we gave them that closed definition, bored and relaxed. It was in a little bit more user-friendly language, so that we were able to get them to self-report their state of mind depending on where they were with the device, be bored with the phone or relaxed and seeking out their favorite show for on-demand television, for example.
Great. Thanks so much, Sharon. So that's all the questions that we got today through the question box. But at any point in time after this, please feel free to reach out to your Millward Brown representative, or you can contact Sharon Flynn here, sharon.flynn@millwardbrown.com, for more information about Adreaction. As I mentioned, we're going to be sending an email out to all attendees with a link to the webinar recording, and we'll include Sharon's contact information in that email so that if you're interested in learning more about the research or accessing a copy of the full Canadian report, you can send Sharon an email directly and she'll get back to you on that. So with that, I just wanted to send a huge thank you out to all of you on the phone, as well as Sharon for leading the research on this and the presentation. And we wish everybody a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great one.